Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 25th of January. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, in the today's video, we'll take up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper as well as we'll also see the good articles from the Indian Express explained section. Now, first of all, let's see the overview of the articles that we'll be taking up today and the explainer PDF that I will be using here. That explainer PDF you can download from our Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram is given in the description box. Now, first of all, overview. So first, let's start with the Indian Express explained section. And in the explained section, the first article is talking about the spread in the community. So for the first time since the pandemic began, India had accepted that in India the community transmission is going on. What is community transmission? Just a one liner concept. Community transmission is a stage when we don't know that from where the spread is coming. So when you can trace the person who is spreading the infection, okay, that is another thing. But when you cannot trace the person who is spreading the infection, when you cannot trace that, it is a community transmission. Before the community transmission comes the cluster transmission. So in the cluster transmission, there are certain spreading zones or there are some super spreaders who are spreading it. So we have passed beyond that. Now in this particular capacity, one thing you need to understand that the European countries and the USA had declared the community transmission way back in 2020. We have declared it right now. Why? It is because of the fact, because this Omicron, it is believed to be milder version. So now we feel confident, so we have declared it. Just that's it. Apart from that, nothing is there. Fine. So please don't go in detail. Then how to manage COVID in kids, new guidelines. Now these guidelines change after every few weeks. No need to go into that particular thing because by the exam will come, it will completely be different scenario. From Saffron Alliance, okay, from Saffron Alliance to name calling, political article, leave it. Then coming to the Hindu newspaper, okay, so in the Hindu newspaper there is one section which has now which is nowadays coming, that is the text and the context section. So here one article, the first article is talking about the after effects of a misplaced comments. So what had happened recently, the Germany's navy chief was in New Delhi and he had made certain comments, and because of that a diplomatic crisis had happened. What happened? He basically praised the president Putin of Russia. He praised him and he said that Russia has no interest in acquiring the Ukraine. Just Putin needs some respect and he should be given that respect. Now, because of that particular thing, there is a crisis that had emerged between the Germany and the Ukraine and the Western countries. They are saying that how your official is saying such kind of a thing. So because of that, this is issue has come. Germany had a distance from that particular thing. So just it is talking about that controversy that is going on with respect to the UPSC academic substance is not there. Fine. So we needed to see the thematic issues. Now the below article, the challenge of antimicrobial resistance is being talked about. So good article with respect to our exam, we'll see it. Then rights, duties and constitution, a very good article. Fine. It basically it is from the archive section, but with respect to polity, a very good article. And there is one more issue that has come in the Hindu editorial. With it we will be clubbing this article. It has a particular context that why it has become important now. The context goes like this, that just 2 days back the prime minister had said that rather than focusing on the rights, we need to focus more on duties. So what is the relation of right and duty? We'll see into this article. So this is about the context and the context section. Now coming to the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper. So here the Pakistan sends India a plea by Hindu body for air pilgrimage. So air pilgrimage is being asked. Fine. However, India had not taken any decision in this particular direction. Fine. Just that's it. Nothing important here. Fine. Then the political articles etc. have been given. Nothing important into this particular thing is there. Fine. And the city section, state section is also filled with only two type of things: rising number of COVID cases and the political news that is there. So and advertisements. And then we reach to the editorial section. So the first article, tackling the Omicron wave, getting future ready. Now see, one thing I'm just telling you very authoritatively, please don't go and see every article coming onto the COVID-19 because it is a very fastly evolving kind of a thing, and a day-to-day development, number of cases where infection is increasing, decreasing, neither it is needed nor it is possible to track. So article is not at all important for your examination. Please ignore it. Then dealing with the macroeconomic uncertainties. So this article we will be seeing with just in order to understand the present state of Indian economy. We will see this article. Then the side article in conjunction. Now this article basically it is talking about, this article in conjunction is talking about the relation of rights and duties because of the Prime Minister's reference that has happened. We'll see this article. Then below article, not mild for all. So it is talking about the Omicron, and as we have accepted that the community transmission is there for the first time, this thing has happened. So just that thing is it talking about. It said that it is not mild for all. The people with comorbidities still they are having certain challenges. The devastating impact of school closure. Fine, we'll see this article. India needs a national vision. We'll see this article. It is talking about that how India needs to have a long-term strategic view on the development rather than a piecemeal approach. We'll see with respect to development. Then further moving on, budget should focus on income gap, says Congress. Okay, so basically anomalies or the income gap had increased, okay, because of this pandemic that has come. Now though not at all related to this particular article, fine, this article given by Rahul Gandhi. Now, one thing I want to tell, which you can either way use. See, there is a K-shaped recovery that has been seen in the pandemic. What is this K-shaped recovery? One particular section, the people who for whom the work from home is possible, the people who were working in the IT sector, etc., they had basically recovered. Okay, service sector, they have recovered, but there are certain other areas, either in the hospitality industry or the informal sector, where the work from home was not possible. They have not recovered. So a K-shaped recovery is going on, and income gap has increased, inequality has increased. That thing should be addressed. Is it clear? So just this is a some extra separate reference that you can use. Then further moving on, after that the political articles etc are there, nothing important, please leave it. Find the entire page number 8, page number 9 are filled with those kind of things only. Find India's rising number of cases, not important. Find the Air India, now they want that the staff should be groomed and all such kind of a thing is there. Marital rape, center seeks time in high court. Now nothing is there in this article, just one line concept is there. See, into the past few days, many articles we have seen on the marital rape. Now there are the petitions that have been sent that the marital rape needs to be criminalized. Right now, marital rape is not criminalized in India because the section 375 of IPC, section 375 of IPC, where the definition of rape is given, there an exception has been provided that if the husband is carrying any sexual intercourse with the wife, even if the consent is not there, but the wife's age is more than 18 years, then it will not be considered as a rape. So make it as a rape. Now the center had just said that we need time to think on it, nothing extra than that. Fine. Then further moving on, amid Ukraine crisis, NATO sends planes, ships to the Eastern Europe. Fine. Now many times I have told you this thing that what has happened, the Ukraine had become a proxy ground. Over the Ukraine, the Russia and USA are fighting. Russia has a willingness, okay, and Russia, it is believed that Russia wants to acquire the Ukraine, but USA says that if you do that thing, there will be the repercussions. So every day they are just doing this particular daily soap is going on this thing. Fine, please don't see everything every day what developments are there. Fine. Then China sends 552 aircraft towards the Taiwan zone because the China also believes that the under the one China policy of China, the Taiwan is the part of China. Okay, and Taiwan is not a specific separate nation. Is it clear? And to reclaim that particular thing again and again, China does that particular thing. Fine, multiple times in a year, China does that thing. Fine. Then further in the business page, COVID 3.0 drags activity lower by 20% less than in a month. We'll cover this article already in the economy article that is there. Then the stocks are sliding down. Fine, the basically other trends, economic trends, etc. has been talked about. India can make $300 billion electronics by 2026. Is that clear? So basically, it has been provided that India's electronic potential is being talked about $300 billion by 2026. Though there are certain challenges, clear the challenges with respect to the inputs, etc. are there. Then we reach to the sports page. So this is all about the overview of the articles, and now let's take all these articles one by one in the detail. Just a minute. Okay, now starting up with our today's discussion. Before every class we take a GS quote, and such GS quote can be used in one of your GS papers. So today we will be taking a quote from the Benjamin Franklin. So Benjamin Franklin says justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. Fine. Now, justice will only come by the collective action. Justice will only come by the collective action when the people who are not affected, people who are unaffected, when they will raise their voices for the people who are affected, when they will be broke, when they feel as the people who are feeling who have actually been deprived of justice. Only with that collective action the true justice will come. Is it clear? So we need to have an active citizenry. Even the people who have not been affected, they need to come forward. This particular idea has been provided. You can use this particular thing in GS2 is as well as in GS paper number 4. So that is about it. Now let's take the first article. So the first article is the challenge of antimicrobial resistance. Now this particular article will be important in our GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3 it will be important. Fine. Even it will be important in GS paper number 2. In the issues related to the health it will be important. Issues related to the health this article will be important. Now before going into this particular article, let's understand some of the background information or some of the basic information that is important. Now see this thing that whenever a person gets a disease, whenever a person gets a disease or whenever a person gets an infection, now that infection is because of certain pathogens that are there in our environment. Bacterias, fine, there are the fungi, there are the viruses, they infect our body and we get our infection. Now the modern medicine has been as a blessing. What modern medicine has done, modern medicine, it has created the antibiotics. It has created the antibiotics. Now the antibiotics for very long has been a affordable treatment against the infections, and many millions of life has been saved by this antibiotics. But guys, over the years what had happened, the antibiotics are being abused by the people. Excessive antibiotics are being taken, and as a result what has happened, the viruses, the bacteria, they have become resistant to these antibiotics. Now even when the infection is there, and if you have taken too much of antibiotics in the past, now they will not work in your body because the bacteria will develop the resistance. And because of this antimicrobial resistance that have been developed because too much of consumption of the antibiotics, what had happened today, people are dying even because of the small common infections that are there. So guys, in a nutshell, we have again reached 100 or 200 years back. Then at that time people were dying because of the common infections. Today again people are dying because of the common infections. So this is the antimicrobial resistance that gets developed. Now up till now there was this particular thing that a large number of people dying, but there was no legible or such kind of a comprehensive report in this direction. Now what has happened, there is the Graham report that has been published. So Graham report, it stands for Global Research on Antimicrobial Resistance Report, and this particular report has been published by the Lancet. Now the Lancet is one of the most reputed health journal in the world. So the Lancet had basically surveyed more than 204 countries, and by this particular survey, so it is a very comprehensive report, and by this survey the Lancet has provided this thing that 4.95 million deaths can be associated with bacterial antimicrobial resistance in 2019. Now the numbers are not at all important. We need to understand that actually the death by the antimicrobial resistance, they are far more than the deaths by the HIV AIDS or by the malaria. So it has become a very big kind of a killer. Now we find this particular thing that the common infections such as the lower respiratory tract infections, bloodstream infections, intra-abdominal infections, fine, they are now killing hundreds and thousands of people today because the people have become resistant to the treatment. People have become resistant to the antibiotics. Now guys, just I wanted to tell you something beyond the scope of this particular article. See, we are becoming the antibiotic resistant because of two things. Number one is that there is indiscriminate use of antibiotics by the people. Fine, whenever there is a problem, fine, the indiscriminate use is there. Even the doctors are prescribing the antibiotics even when it is not required. So this is the reason number one. Reason number two, the food that we consume today, they have also a lot of antibiotics which were actually not meant for the human consumption. For example, in the poultry sector, today if you see the chickens, okay, they are being fed by the antibiotics so that they gain their weight. Okay, and because if they will gain their weight, then there will be the economic profit that will happen to the poultry farmer, so they are being fed by the antibiotics. When you consume that chicken, that antibiotic which was fed originally to the chicken, it is going in your body. So by that particular thing also, you are consuming a lot of antibiotics. Is it clear? Then because of many of the because of such kind of practices are there. Now it has been provided that today that historically treatable diseases such as the pneumonia, fine, foodborne ailments, etc., they are not treatable and people are dying. Now the data shows that the young children are particularly affected, fine, by this particular thing. In 2009, out of 5, the 1 out of the 5 death was into the children. Fine. So what could be the way forward? So this way forward is more important. Now the number one is that there needs to be a greater action to monitor and control the infections. So first of all, control the infections. If infection will not be there, then the treatment is not at all required. So prevention is first of all the best strategy. Then the access to vaccines, clean water and sanitation needs to be expanded. So if you give the if you give the vaccines, the first people will not fall ill. Second, the clean water and sanitation, if it will be given, then obviously the infections will not emerge. Then the use of antibiotics unrelated to treating the human disease needs to be controlled. I told you that the antibiotics are there into the food, in the animal production. They needs to be optimized. There needs to be the stringent controls. Secondly, the doctors need to be more thoughtful about use of antimicrobial treatments. Fine, just the antibiotics needed to be given only the situations when they are the most needed. Then funding for the developing new antimicrobial diseases is to be given. Fine, priority pathogens needed to be addressed. Fine, K pneumonia, E. coli, these are some of the pathogens needs to be addressed. Developing countries, poor countries, underdeveloped countries, to them more funding is to be given. So these are some of the solutions and the problem. That is about this article. Now let's move to the next article. Okay, so here we have now the two articles in conjunction, and the other article is the rights, duties and the constitution. Now both of these articles have been taken from the Hindu newspaper, okay, and it will be important for our GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, the fundamental rights, fine, and the relation between the rights and duties, fine, this article will be important. Now first of all, before going in this particular article, let me tell you the context or the background. Fine, the context and the background, what it is. See, so I have told you just few minutes back that the Prime Minister had made an address just 2-3 days back, and there he had said that we had always focused on the rights, and because of that particular thing we are ignoring our duties. So he said this thing that now the next 25 years, we need to just focus on tapasya. We just need to focus on duties. Fine, this is the address that he had given. Now in this particular direction the articles are now coming. So let's see this particular article. The articles we will be seeing strictly into the academic light, strictly onto the basis of academic arguments we'll be seeing this thing. Fine, you don't need to get emotionally attached with such kind of things. Fine, you might agree with it, you might disagree with it, but if a question comes in the examination, emotions will not help, the academic arguments will only help. So in that way we'll understand this article. Now see, when we talk about a democracy, or a democratic evolution, a democratic evolution is centered around the expansion of civil rights, political rights, economic rights, cultural rights and duties. Okay, let's take some additional concept here, okay, beyond the scope of this article. There is actually the theory of social contract. There is the theory of social contract. Fine, in the theory of social contract, it has been said that there is a binary of relation that exists. On one hand, there is a state, and on another hand, there is a citizen. Now, the state will give the rights to the citizen. State will give the rights to the citizen. And in return, the citizens will also have certain duties for the state. So, this is a binary of relation that is going on. Now, this is the a point from where the evolution of the modern societies come. So the modern democratic societies, they are based on the expansion of rights, civic rights, political rights, economic rights, etc. Now when we talk about the rights are important for the empowerment of the people. Now the democratic nations, they respect the individual rights, they respect the group rights for the moral reasons. For the moral reasons, it is ethical to give the people right, because the humanism provides this thing that every development needs to be oriented towards the human welfare only, and human welfare will only come when the rights will be given. So there is a moral or an ethical responsibility of a state to give the right. Second is the instrumental reasons are there. See guys, the democracy will not be functional, society will not be functional if you will not give them the rights. They will never pay the allegiance to the state. So therefore the instrumental reason also, the rights are being given. Now what has happened after the independence, actually after the 1950, when the constitution came in existence, and when in the constitution we had given a important role to the active judiciary, the deepening of Indian democracy has happened. What is this deepening of Indian democracy? Now many more number of rights, many more number of entitlements have been given to the citizens over the years. The right to life turned into the right to a dignified life. Clear? Many more new rights are coming. Just latest, the right to privacy has been given. Now the right to internet has been given. So the deepening of democracy had happened, and expansion of the rights, right to education, right to information, right to privacy, now they have been legally guaranteed. So the rights scope is increasing. Now it has been provided that what is the purpose of the rights, why these fundamental rights have been added in the Constitution of India. So it has been said that there are the two reasons that the fundamental rights have been added. Reason number two, principles are there: principle of anti-dehumanization and the principle of anti-hierarchy. Again I'll repeat, two principles are there: principle of anti-dehumanization and the principle of anti-hierarchy. What do they mean? First of all, the principle of anti-dehumanization. Now this particular principle says this particular thing, that there is, we find this particular thing, that the humans, by the virtue of their existence, they have certain natural rights, and these natural rights cannot be taken in any circumstances. There cannot be justification, any justification to take certain rights, no matter what the provocation is. Certain rights you cannot take. Why? Because the human has its own self-worth, human has its own dignity, and that particular dignity cannot be removed. Dehumanization cannot be carried. So in order to avoid the dehumanization, for anti-dehumanization, the rights are given. I want to just give you one example, though you might I don't know whether you will connect it with or not, but see, when the Ajmal Kasab came in, when the Ajmal Kasab carried the terrorist attacks in India, okay, he was given all the due treatment. Clear? Even when he committed such a heinous crime in India, then also his rights were respected. He was given all the constitutional remedies. Why? Because India is a democratic state and the principle of anti-dehumanization is followed. So the rights are given, number one. Number two, the rights are also given because of this anti-hierarchy. Now what is this thing? India is a deeply divided society. India is a stratified society. We are divided on caste, gender, religion, region, language. Many dividing factors are there, and into this deeply stratified society, obviously when divisions are there, there will be certain people who are at the upper part of division, some people are at the lower part of the division. So protect in order to protect the people who are at the lower part of the hierarchy, the rights are given. So there are the oppressions, the axes of gender, caste, religion. Fine. So into this particular thing, in order to provide the protection and in order to avoid this hierarchy, we need to give the right. So this is the reason. Fine. Now there is one more third reason also. There is also one more third reason also. We want to raise the level of individual from the subject to the citizen. So subject to the citizen. Now the colonials, they treated the people as subject. We treat, the democracy treats the people as a citizen. So raising their status from subject to citizen also needs that the rights are to be given. Now guys, though we have talked a lot about rights, but the duties are also important. Mahatma Gandhi ji in the Hind Swaraj, Mahatma Gandhi ji in the Hind Swaraj has observed that the real rights are a result of the performance of duties. Only if the duties will be there, then only the rights can be possible. You cannot expect the rights for everybody but duties for nobody. That cannot be expected. It is also, it can be said that duty is the price that must be paid for living in a society. So duty is the price that must be paid for living in a society. So duties are also important. Now rights and duties. Now guys, please directly note down these phrases and use it in your answers. Fine. Now then the next thing is that the rights and duties, they complement each other, just as the responsibility comes with the freedom. Freedom comes with the responsibility, so rights comes with the duty. They complement each other. But there is one of a socio-political thinker, Samuel Moyn. So Samuel Moyn had had raised a very important point with respect to the duties. He said that many a times what happens, the traditions, they use the language of duty traditions, they use a language of duty in order to subordinate certain people, or in order to efface the individual of a to efface the individual. I'll give you a certain example. Guys, there is one example we can take. In 1980, Supreme Court came with a judgment. In 1980, Supreme Court came with a judgment, and this judgment was this, that the Supreme Court provided, when the differential treatment of males and female flight attendants were being talked about, Supreme Court said this thing, that the women has a special duty. What special duty women had? Women had the special duty to ensure the good upbringing of their children, and on the women there is a special duty that they need to make the family planning program successful. So what has happened? Many times the language of duty, the name of duty is used to put some extra obligations on certain group of people. Sometimes, for example, into the past, we said that the Dalits, they, or the people belonging to the lower caste, they have a particular duty to serve the other sections of society. So what you have done? You have just used the name duty, the word duty, to put some extra obligation on the other people. So therefore, guys, it has been provided that in the society, moral compass needs to be very strong. Moral compass needs to be very strong, so that we can understand that whether the duties are just being used as a convenient term to impose some extra obligations on the people, or rightfully they are the duties. Is it clear? Many a times duties can lead to some unpleasant consequences also. The entrenched people, the people who are already into the power, they can get the advantage, because the extra duties will only be getting imposed onto the poor people. Is it clear? So the burden of duties should not be put only on the people who are vulnerable or marginalized. It should be evenly extended. This particular thing has been provided. Moreover, when we talk about the duty, duty need to be understood in such a way that the duties first of all needs to be put on certain people who have been entrenched, who have been given a privilege duty to protect the vulnerable one. Fine, these are certain things. Moreover, guys, see, when we talk about the duties, it is not the case that there are no duties imposed onto the citizen. Already large number of legal duties have been imposed. For example, it is your legal duty to pay the taxes. It is your legal duty to follow all the rules and regulations framed by the parliament and state legislature. If you will not follow, you will be jailed. So already the duties are being followed. It is not the case that just the duties can just the person can follow only the duties and he will not talk about the rights. One particular point has been made into the article. It has been said that now the time has come that the Hindu Swaraj needs to be updated. In the Hindu Swaraj, we need to write that the duties are the result of rights. Is it clear? So this is just a kind of an opinion that has been given. So this is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, India needs a national vision. India needs a national vision. Fine. So this particular article, it says, it talks that what needs to be the developmental trajectory of India, and therefore it will be important in GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 3. The issues related to the development, it will be important. Clear? Now let's understand this particular thing. So basically it has been provided that India now needs a national vision to truly transform itself. What has been the focus of India up till now? India had followed a piecemeal announcement approach. What is this piecemeal announcement approach? We pick one particular section, and we one particular segment of economy, or let's say segment of a state, and we'll say that okay, we'll bringing reform here. New schemes are announced, new initiatives are announced. For example, under the economic recovery, we are now coming out with the production linked incentive scheme, PLI. In the time of pandemic, we came with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. From time to time, we are coming with the different schemes, initiatives. It is a piecemeal approach. We need to come out with a national vision, where long term vision needs to be there, medium term vision needs to be there. Let's take the example of such visions that have been announced by some countries. For example, the China's example is given in this article. In 2015, China released the Made in China 2025 document. What was this Made in China document? According to this particular document, China adopted a 10-year plan for the development. Now you see that China had historically been known as the factory to the world. Cheap products, or the products which did not need much of technology, or technologically which are not very sophisticated products, they were actually made in China. This is the perception that was there. So China said that within next 10 years till 2025, we will change this particular perception, and secondly, the high high technology industries we will develop. Now the time has gone so from the low end manufacturing we'll go to the high tech industries. That was the vision that was taken by the China. So as well as they said that the dependence on foreign technology will be reduced into the next 10 years, and 70% self sufficiency by 2025 was to be achieved. And China said that by 2049 that the dominant position will be achieved by the China. So these are the long term strategic visions that were released by the China. Now guys, China's national vision is to regain the China's lost glory. Is it clear? They want to augment themselves through the economic capability, through the economic expansion. They need to regain the lost glory that was there. Now, in this particular capacity, guys, when we see that India had first of all not made much of these vision statements. From time to time, we had made few, but we have never given a very much focus to reach all the visions that were unlisted. For example, in 2018, India announced that we will send the astronauts in space by 2022. This was announced, but up till now, only two space launches had happened, and out of these two, one got failed. And if we see the China has set a world record of 47 space launches China had done. Only for this particular purpose we have done just two. So that is a problem. Then guys, the next thing that has been provided is that basically being powerful is having the ability to create and sustain an outcome. Being powerful, very good quote, you can use that in essay also. Being powerful is having the ability to create and sustain an outcome. Is it clear? So we need to develop the capacities in India as a nation, that number one, we should achieve what we have given in our vision, and then we need to sustain that particular achievement also. And this particular thing will require a lot of things, a lot of resources, financial resources, human resources, physical resources. All these resources are to be given. Now the time has come that we need to move away from the daily subsistence to be the powerhouse. Fine. So this time has come. Into this particular direction, India needs to announce the vision and needs to focus that that thing needs to be fulfilled. For example, into the time of COVID-19, we can see one thing, that earlier India was called as the pharmacy of the world. But what happened? What happened here? In the COVID-19, we were not able to deliver on the vaccines to the world. Even the vaccines that were promised by India, that has not been given. So we need to work on this particular thing. What is the need of an hour? Need of an hour is to formulate an all encompassing document, and this document needs to enable the coherence between the different sectors, the different ministries. Fine. So different ministries, different department, they need to come together and they need to work that how one document can be prepared and how it can be made achievable. Clear? The time should be given to the experts to draft it. Fine. The vision should be put through an economic and technological analysis. What is capacity now? What is more needed and how it will be needed? Such analysis needs to be given. And the plan should be implemented by a body of experts. Fine. That has the confidence of the leadership on both the sides of the political aisle, opposition as well as ruling. Though guys, in this direction already the planning commission was there. Now the Niti Aayog has come. These points have not been considered by the author of this particular article. Fine. The Niti Aayog are there, planning commissions are there, and even the Niti Aayog coming out with their action agendas, clear, and all such kind of report. But the basically writer suggests that even more of a longer term horizon is needed to be considered. This is the thing. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Dealing with macroeconomic uncertainties. This article we can see under the light of GS paper number 3, the state of Indian economy. Now see this particular thing. Before going into this particular article, guys, I would like to tell you some of a background basic information which will be helping you to understand this article and some other complex concepts of economy. See this thing. Whenever the slowdown comes in an economy, what happens? The fiscal stimulus is given by the government. Fiscal stimulus means government will pump a lot of money in the economy so that the aggregate demand can be raised. Government will pump a lot of money so that job creation can happen. So the money is pumped and the fiscal stimulus is given by the government. Fine. Now you understand this particular thing, that the money that is being pumped, the government cannot endlessly pump that particular money. It has to be stopped at one or the other day. So when it is stopped, what happened? Basically we use a word for that particular thing, that is tapering. To taper the fiscal stimulus. So tapering, it is something like this, that that you are giving the fiscal stimulus. Over the period of time, you will reduce it, reduce it, reduce it, reduce it, and at one point of a time, you will stop this particular thing. We call this as a taper tantrum also. Taper tantrum also. Now, why this particular thing is important? Understand this thing. When the slowdown in the economy came in the US, particularly because of this COVID-19 pandemic, what happened? The US Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America, fine, they started to give the fiscal stimulus. A lot of money was pumped into the USA. Now, as the money is being pumped into the USA and a lot of money is there, what will happen? The interest rate will come down. Interest rate will come down because already a lot of money is there. Now, because the interest rate were coming down in the USA, what happened? A lot of money came in India. A lot of money came in India. Now, what has happened? The USA is saying that we are going again for this tapering. We will reduce this fiscal stimulus that was being given. We are going for a tapering. Now, as the fiscal stimulus will be reduced, less money will go. Obviously, what will happen then? The interest rate will increase. Why? Because you know the basic concept of demand and supply. When the demand of anything is more, what will happen? The price will go down. Now, when the supply of anything is more, the price will go down. When the money is being supplied, obviously the price of money, that is the interest rate, it will go down. Now the money, as less money will be pumped into the USA, what will happen? The interest rate will increase, and the money that earlier came in India, now again it will fly back to the USA, because in their home country interest rate will increase. Now if we want to keep that particular money which came in India, if we want to keep that thing, what we need to do? The Reserve Bank of India also needs to increase the interest rate. Is it clear? So right now we are into an economic stage where the taper tantrum is going on. The Federal Reserve is saying that we will be going for this tapering and the money will flow back to the USA. So into this particular thing, the Reserve Bank of India is in a situation that it has to increase its interest rate to prevent this capital inflow. Is it clear? But if it will increase the interest rate, what will happen? In India also we are giving our own fiscal stimulus. So if we will increase the interest rate, what will happen? People will borrow less money. If people will borrow less money will go into the economy. So in India there will be a problem that will come. So what we need to do? This is an economical crisis or economical issue which we are facing right now. Keep this particular thing in mind. Now it has been said that actually what we need to do, we need to maintain the accommodative fiscal stance. We need to have a liberal fiscal policy. We should pump more and more money into the economy. Now see this thing, there are certain uncertainties which Indian economy is facing right now. Number one uncertainty is there, that the Ministry of Commerce had accepted this thing, that the inflation is increasing in India because already a lot of money is being pumped. The WPI inflation is around 13.56% and the CPI inflation is right now 5.03%, and it is going above. Fine, it has been seen that it might reach to the 6% limit also, which is the peak of the comfortable range. Now, due to the supply chain disruptions and volatile energy prices and food prices, the inflation has come. Now, see this particular thing. Right now, if we see the crude oil price, it is recording the heights. It has already crossed the $87 per barrel price. And because of this thing, what has happened? The inputs have increased. In India, the largest part of our crude, it comes from the import. And as into the international prices, the price has increased. What has happened? The landing price of the oil is increasing. And as the landing price will increase, the petrol and diesel will become expensive, and as everything is moving because of the petrol and diesel, what will happen? Everything will become expensive. Inflation will come there. This is a supply side problem that has come, and volatile energy that is bringing the inflation. Now there is one more uncertainty that is being talked about. See what has happened. I told you we had given a lot of money. Fiscal stimulus was given, and as a part of a fiscal stimulus, the interest rate in the banks also came down. Fine, cheap credit was given to the people. Now, absorbing this excess liquidity is right now very much important in order to reverse the non-performing asset. Now, when the money is money is available at the less interest rate, every person borrows the money, irrespective of the fact whether he can pay back or not. Now, if for a very long time we will be giving this excess liquidity, we will reduce the interest rate down. More number of people, unworthy people, will take the loan, and then the non-performing asset problem will increase in the medium term. Recently, the Reserve Bank of India financial stability report was published, and it said that the gross national performing assets in the scheduled commercial banks, it will increase from 6.9% to 9.5%. Is it clear? Out of the total loans that are given, NPA, fine, 9.5% of them might go the NPA. So therefore, this is the interest rates. This thing is needed to be removed. The structure of interest rate is also needed to be corrected. Fine. The bond yield is increasing. Bond yield is increasing. What is this bond yield? And now government is raising the money. Government is raising the money, and on the bonds, fine. When the government is raising money, government also have to give the interest. So the bond yield increasing, it means that now the interest is increasing, as if interest will increase, government had to pay more interest, and the cost of loan, cost of borrowing for the government will increase. This particular thing is there. Now the call market rates are below the repo rates. Fine. So these are the problems that are there. Fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP, fine, rose to 9.5% in 21-22. This was one estimate, but now it has been said that will go to 9.2%, and even less than that if the Omicron virus continues. So these are certain uncertainties in the economy that are there. Then the way forward. What is the way forward? Way forward is that according to this article, I'm not saying that this is the only way forward. According to the article, the way forward is that we need to maintain an accommodative fiscal policy stance in upcoming union budget. Though there are the fear that the inflation might increase, but we need to maintain the accommodative fiscal policy. We need to spend liberally, and the public spending, particularly onto the health, is needed to be focused. According to the article, it has been said that the public spending on the health by the union government, not all the union and states, by union government is below the 1% of GDP. Fine, though it has increased. We need to work for basically rising unemployment that has been there. We need to come out with a job guarantee programs onto the line of MG Narega. Fine, we have yesterday also seen that the urban Narega is needed. Fine, this is one thing. So therefore, it has been said that we need to strengthen the social sector. We need to actually, without fearing all the problems that are there, we need to maintain the accommodative policy suggested by this article. So that is all about this, and now we'll move to the next article. Devastating impact of school closure. So the impact of pandemic on education. There we can use this particular article. Therefore, it will be important in GS paper number 2, education sector. GS paper number 2, education. Now, here it has been said that actually the schools, the prolonged closing of the school because of the pandemic, it violates the children's right to education. Now it has been said that basically the politicians, for them, closing down the school is a very easy thing, because they wanted to be seen that something is being done. So in order to be seen that something is done, and they are very much caring and sensitive, what they do, they close down the school. But the experts around the world had said that closing the school is not a good strategy. According to them, they had said that the schools need to be last to be closed and first to be open. But what we do in India is opposite. We first close the school and last open the school. Fine, which is a kind of a very absurd policy. It has been said that basically India is one of the country where the longest school closure had happened in the pandemic. Now, according to the data, the people below the 25 years of age, there basically the risk is very much less. According to the author, it has been said that there is more risk for the children traveling in the car. There is more probability that they might face a fatality in an accident rather than going into the school and getting infected by the COVID-19. So there is a very absurd policy that we are taking. The Sweden had never closed down its school for the children under the 16, but we don't find that the Sweden had went into a health crisis. Nothing problem happened there. So therefore, it has been said that when the super spreaders are the malls, cinema halls, railway stations, airports, why you are closing down the school? Now, does online education constitute education? It has been said that the online education is not a solution, particularly for the primary and pre-primary classes. In the online education, the social and emotional development of a children doesn't happen. He doesn't learn or she doesn't learn the effective socialization. According to a detailed survey report from 2021, it has been said that because of the lockdown, a very big impact on the learning capabilities of the children had happened. More than a third of them were not studying at all. Fine. Even in the UK, which had not carried very much elongated lockdowns for the schools, they have said that the mental health issues have increased into the children. When we talk about in India, malnutrition is actually increasing. Why? Because the midday meal was a very important thing by scheme under which the school food was given to the children into the school. But now, because the schools are being closed under the midday meal scheme also, they are not able to eat the food. After that, it has been said that in India already already there is a problem of child labor. According to 2011 census, there were 10.1 million children who were there into the child labor in India. Now this number will further increase if immediately the schools will not be opened up. So therefore it has been said that opening a school makes a lot of sense. Even we should not wait for a vaccine, that a vaccine will be first be tested, it will be given, and only when the coverage will be there, the children will be sent to school. We should not wait for such kind of a thing. Immediately the schools need to be opened up. Now there is one more case study here that I would like to share. Now, this is a case study from the Maharashtra Satara. So, in the Maharashtra Satara, because of a single teacher, what had happened? The schools have opened for 7 months continuously. Now, Maharashtra Satara districts, fine. Single teacher Zilla Parishad school is there. Single teacher Zilla Parishad school is there. Now, the children are being called in the batch of maximum 5 at a time, and in multiple batches the students are being called. And because of that particular thing, when the 5 students batch is there, with adequate social distancing, they are being taught. Is it clear? And the schools are functioning there. So we need to learn from them. So this is about it, and this case study you can use in your gs4 gs4 also. So this is all about it, fine. And guys, with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Apart from this, much other relevant news are not there. So this is about it. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. in the morning live. Till then, please take care of yourselves, and if you are liking the initiative, please do share the initiative, please do like it. Thank you.